The room was buzzing, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions, and two athletes sitting side by side at a press conference that would soon explode online. On one side sat Jake Paul, calm, collected, hands folded, expression unreadable. On the other sat a heavyweight wrestler, famous for his over-the-top confidence and endless trash talk. He leaned toward the mic, smirking. "Let's be honest," he said, his voice dripping with arrogance. "Jake Paul can't handle the ring. Boxing's not the same as YouTube. He's out of his league." The crowd erupted, some laughing, others booing. Jake didn't react. He simply smiled, the kind of smile that says, "I'll let my fists do the talking." But the wrestler wasn't done. He pointed at Jake. "I've wrestled with world champions. I've been in real fights. This kid's just a showman. I'll drop him in under 2 minutes." The reporters leaned forward, loving every second. They knew headlines were being written right there. Jake adjusted his mic and said calmly, "All right then. Let's make it happen." No drama, no shouting, just quiet confidence, and that silence hit harder than any comeback could. Within hours, the clip was everywhere. Trending on Twitter, blowing up on YouTube, all over sports networks. Memes popped up instantly. Wrestler versus YouTuber, who'll fall first? Comment sections exploded with opinions. Jake's gonna get crushed. He's not ready for a real fighter. Never underestimate a man with something to prove. Jake didn't respond. No interviews, no rants, no online wars. He went silent, and that silence spoke volumes. Behind the scenes, he'd already called his team. Training camp would start tomorrow, because for Jake, this wasn't about proving the internet wrong. It was about proving himself right. No one expected how Jake would respond next, or how fast this arrogant wrestler would regret opening his mouth. Days turned into weeks, and the internet refused to calm down. Everywhere you looked, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, sports podcasts, one clip kept resurfacing. Jake Paul can't handle the ring. Those 6 words from the wrestler had ignited a storm. At first, Jake ignored it. He focused on training, sparring, cardio, strategy. But the noise grew louder. Sports anchors mocked him. Former fighters called him overrated. Commentators said, "This time Jake's bitten off more than he can chew." Still, Jake didn't respond. No tweets, no interviews. He stayed quiet, and that silence only made the world more curious. Then, one morning, Jake finally broke the silence. He posted a single video on his socials. No flashy intro, no music. Just him standing in the gym, sweat dripping down his face. "You talk a lot about strength," Jake said calmly. "But strength isn't about muscle. It's about discipline. Let's see if you can handle real boxing." 7 seconds. That's all it took. The video went viral instantly. 15 million views in under 24 hours. Fans went wild. The internet was officially split in 2 camps. Team Jake, those who believed in his grit, discipline, and focus. Team Wrestler, those who thought this would finally humble the YouTuber turned boxer. The media seized the moment. ESPN, Sky Sports, and countless YouTube commentators started calling it the Battle of Egos, boxer versus wrestler. Promoters loved it, 2 worlds colliding, pride on the line, money flooding in. And just like that, the fight was confirmed. Date, 2 months from now. Venue, Las Vegas, the city where legends rise and egos fall. The announcement sent shockwaves through the sports world. Tickets sold out in 48 hours. Even celebrities wanted ringside seats. The wrestler kept talking, feeding the fire. "Jake's not built for this. I'll crush him before the first round's over." He'd post training clips of himself tossing giant men around the mat, flexing, smirking into the camera. Meanwhile, Jake's feed showed something completely different. Quiet footage of him training before sunrise, sparring with pros, eyes focused, mouth closed. One man was chasing attention. The other was chasing greatness. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds. "Jake's going down. That wrestler's gonna get humbled. Can't wait to see who actually walks the talk." The hype was electric. Every sports page, every reaction channel, every meme account had something to say. In one interview, the wrestler smirked at the camera and said, "I'm not just gonna beat him. I'm gonna embarrass him." When Jake was asked for a response, he smiled lightly and said, "We'll see." That calm confidence, it got under the wrestler's skin. Because Jake wasn't reacting the way most people did. He wasn't angry, defensive, or intimidated. He was patient, and the world could feel it. Something about his silence was dangerous. As the fight approached, the tension was unbearable. The wrestler kept dominating headlines with bold quotes, while Jake kept disappearing into training. Everyone had an opinion, everyone except Jake Paul. Then came the final press event. Hundreds of cameras, bright lights, loud fans. Jake and the wrestler sat facing each other on stage. The wrestler leaned forward and taunted, "You're scared, aren't you? You don't even look at me." Jake finally met his eyes. "I don't need to look at you," he said. "I'll see you in the ring." The crowd erupted. Half cheering, half booing, but everyone felt the tension in the air. Security had to separate them when the wrestler tried to stand up and provoke him further. That clip hit social media instantly. Millions of views within hours. The internet was on fire again. Predictions, reaction videos, fan debates. The whole world was counting down. And through it all, Jake's message never changed. No trash talk. No drama, just training, focus, and one quiet promise. See you on fight night. Who do you think will win? The loud wrestler or the focused boxer? Comment below and tell me which country or city you're watching from. Let's see where Jake's fans are worldwide, because this wasn't just a fight anymore. It had become something bigger, a battle between arrogance and discipline, between noise and focus, between talk and truth. And deep down, everyone watching knew one thing: only one of them would walk away with respect. The world was talking, but Jake Paul wasn't. While the arrogant wrestler toured talk shows and podcasts, mocking Jake at every turn, Jake was living in silence. No late-night interviews, no flashy social media posts, just the echo of his gloves hitting the bag over and over again. In a quiet Los Angeles gym, far from cameras and crowds, Jake's days had become a blur of sweat and repetition. Morning runs before sunrise, hundreds of rounds of sparring, endless drills, every punch thrown with one goal: control. His coach, an old-school boxing veteran, watched him closely. "Ignore the noise? Jake, the ring tells the truth." And Jake nodded, not with arrogance but focus. He'd already lived under the world's spotlight once as a YouTuber. He knew what fame felt like, but this was different. This was about respect, not views, not clicks, not headlines. Meanwhile, the wrestler was everywhere, laughing in interviews, doing exaggerated push-ups on live TV, posting videos of himself lifting massive weights while yelling Jake's name. He'd caption clips, still waiting for Jake to show some real strength. Millions watched. Millions laughed. But behind those laughs, more and more people began to notice the difference. Jake wasn't just training. He was transforming. His body had hardened, but so had his discipline. His eyes, calm, sharp, unshaken. He didn't need to prove anything online. He was preparing to prove it in the ring. One clip leaked from his gym, just 15 seconds long. Jake hitting the heavy bag with crisp precision, perfect form, relentless rhythm. No words, no music, just power. That clip went viral too, and the comments began to shift. Wait, he looks serious. Bro's moving like a pro now. This fight's not gonna go the way people think. Even critics started admitting it. Jake wasn't playing around. Every day, his trainer pushed him harder. Control your breath. Find your distance. You don't win by being louder. You win by being smarter. And Jake took it all in. No complaints, no excuses. He sparred with top fighters, practiced defense, learned timing and patience. He studied every move of his opponent, his habits, his weaknesses, his ego. At night, he'd watch tapes of the wrestler, his wild swings, his tendency to showboat, his lack of boxing discipline. Jake smiled quietly. He's strong, he told his coach. But he doesn't respect the ring. That's when his coach replied, and the ring doesn't respect arrogance. Those words hit Jake hard, because that was it, the truth. In boxing, you can't fake respect. The moment you underestimate the sport, it humbles you. Meanwhile, the wrestler was building a circus. Every press event turned into a comedy show. He'd mock Jake's fans, saying, "These YouTubers think views equal victories." The audience laughed, but the energy was shifting. People were no longer laughing with him. They were laughing at him. As fight night drew closer, both men entered their final training phases. Jake trained in silence, pushing past exhaustion. The wrestler trained with cameras, chasing attention. Two men. Two paths. One truth waiting under the bright lights of Las Vegas. On the final night before the fight, Jake's team gathered for a small dinner. He barely spoke. He didn't need to. Everyone could feel it, the calm before the storm. When asked how he felt, Jake simply said, "I'm ready. I've already fought the hardest battle, the one inside my head." He went to sleep early that night. No distractions, no scrolling, no noise. While across town, the wrestler partied with his crew, posting stories of him laughing, confident, bragging about how easy the fight would be. But inside that quiet gym, Jake's name was being written in sweat. Because no matter how loud someone talks, when the bell rings, only skill speaks, and Jake Paul was ready to let his gloves do all the talking. Have you ever seen someone underestimate the wrong person, only to get completely humbled? Tell me your favorite comeback story in the comments below. Because sometimes it's not about who talks louder. It's about who works harder in silence. The day had arrived. Las Vegas was alive. Neon lights flashed. The roar of the crowd echoed through the arena, and anticipation crackled in the air like electricity. Every fan, journalist, and commentator felt it. This was no ordinary fight. This was a clash of worlds. Inside the locker room, Jake Paul sat quietly, wrapping his hands with meticulous precision. His trainer watched over him, offering calm words of strategy. "Remember, stay disciplined. Don't rush him. Let him make mistakes." Jake nodded, closing his eyes for a moment. He could hear the crowd outside chanting, screaming, hyped for drama. But he blocked it out. Every shout, every flash, every camera click was irrelevant. This was his moment, a test of skill, focus, and composure. Across the arena, the wrestler strutted into the locker room with his usual arrogance. He laughed, throwing playful punches in the air and flexing for the cameras. His entourage clapped, cheering him on. "He's going down before the first round ends," he shouted, smirking. The contrast was striking. One man fueled by ego, one man fueled by discipline. The lights dimmed. Spotlight on the ring. The arena erupted as both fighters made their entrances. The wrestler came first, bouncing on the ropes, taunting the crowd. "Who's ready to watch a YouTuber get embarrassed?" The fans roared, half cheered for him, half booed. Then Jake appeared, calm, focused, no theatrics. Just a fighter ready to do his job. The crowd went wild, some chanting his name, others holding their breath. The referee gave final instructions. The bell rang. Round one began. The wrestler came at him aggressively, swinging wide and throwing exaggerated hooks. He wanted to intimidate, to overpower. His ego was in full display, loud, chaotic, confident. Jake danced back, eyes sharp, footwork precise. Every swing the wrestler threw, Jake saw it coming. He dodged, countered, and circled with purpose. His movements were crisp, efficient, and calculated. The crowd noticed the shift immediately. Whoa. Jake's calm. He's reading him like a book. The wrestler's frustration grew. His smirk faded. "Come on, kid." "Hit me!" he shouted. Jake stayed silent. No taunts, no wasted energy. Only focus. Round one continued. Every hook the wrestler threw was met with precise blocks or counters. His power was real, but his strategy was sloppy. And Jake? He had patience, letting the wrestler exhaust himself, opening gaps for his opportunity. By the middle of the round, the crowd could sense the tide turning. The wrestler's movements became sloppy, his confidence starting to crack. His taunts were more desperate than playful now. Jake landed a few clean jabs, each one met with gasps from the audience. Did you see that? He's not joking around. The wrestler's arrogance started working against him. His wild swings left him open, and Jake's counters grew sharper. The crowd began chanting, "Jake! Jake! Jake!" Suddenly, Jake saw his opening, a subtle misstep by the wrestler. His overconfidence leaving him vulnerable. "Now," Jake's trainer whispered under his breath. The wrestler lunged again, throwing a haymaker meant to intimidate. Jake ducked, slipped inside, and landed a clean right hook directly to the wrestler's jaw. The arena went silent for a split second. Then the chaos exploded. The wrestler stumbled back, eyes wide in shock. The bell didn't even need to ring. The first real taste of Jake's skill had already made its mark. Cameras flashed. Commentators screamed. Fans jumped out of their seats. Social media went live instantly. Did you see that counter? The wrestler looked stunned. Jake Paul isn't playing. Even the wrestler's team looked worried. His overconfidence had led him into a trap. The fighter he underestimated had proven he wasn't just a YouTuber. He was a boxer, precise, disciplined, and dangerous. Round 1 ended. The wrestler went back to his corner, wiping sweat from his forehead, his arrogance replaced with disbelief. Jake returned to his corner, calm, focused, silent. The arena was electric. Everyone knew this fight had just begun, but the first round had already rewritten the narrative. The wrestler thought he could dominate. But by the time round 2 starts, everything is about to change. The arena was deafening. Fans on the edge of their seats, cameras flashing, commentators screaming over each blow. The wrestler entered the ring with the same swagger he had carried into round 1, but the sparkle of confidence had dimmed slightly. The smirk lingered, but it was tempered now by caution, an instinct that only a fighter realizes too late. Jake Paul, on the other hand, moved like a man who had seen every possible mistake the wrestler could make and was ready for each one. Calm, focused, precise. Every step, every movement, every swing of his glove was deliberate. The wrestler lunged forward immediately, throwing wide, aggressive hooks in an attempt to intimidate. He wanted to dominate early, to crush Jake with brute force. But his attacks were sloppy, telegraphed by overconfidence, and Jake was waiting patiently, reading every motion. "He's too slow," Jake's trainer muttered under his breath. Jake ducked under a wild swing, slipped inside, and countered with a quick jab to the wrestler's midsection. The move wasn't brutal, but it shocked the wrestler. His overextended attack had left him vulnerable, and for the first time, a flicker of doubt crossed his face. The crowd could sense it. Whispers spread across the arena. "Did you see that? Jake's not just surviving, he's controlling the fight. He's actually winning." The wrestler tried to recover, swinging wildly, hoping his raw power could compensate for his mistakes. But Jake remained disciplined. He blocked, slipped, and countered with calculated combinations. His strikes were crisp, accurate, and strategic. A heavy left hook clipped the wrestler's chin, and he stumbled back. Gasps filled the arena. The wrestler's arrogance was beginning to crumble under the weight of reality. "This isn't what I expected," a commentator exclaimed, disbelief in his voice. Jake didn't gloat. He didn't taunt. He simply moved like a predator, waiting for the perfect moment. The wrestler's frustration was growing, his wild punches revealing his panic, his bravado giving way to desperation. "Hit him! Hit him!" some fans shouted, sensing the wrestler's unraveling confidence. Jake feinted, dodged, and then, with perfect timing, unleashed a swift combination of hooks and jabs. One strike landed clean on the wrestler's jaw, another to his side. The wrestler staggered again, eyes wide, realizing that every ounce of overconfidence he had brought into the ring was now his undoing. The audience erupted. The arena shook with excitement. Fans were screaming, some jumping out of their seats. Every camera in the place captured the wrestler's disbelief and Jake's calm, almost serene focus. "He's not just boxing, he's schooling him," shouted a commentator. The wrestler tried to regain control, swinging wildly, throwing everything he had into desperate hooks. But Jake's discipline and preparation allowed him to read every movement, dodge every strike, and counter with efficiency. The tide of the fight had completely turned. By the end of round 2, it was clear. The wrestler was no longer the dominant force he had promised to be. Sweat dripped down his face, his chest heaving, his confidence shattered. Jake, calm and focused, returned to his corner, nodding slightly to his trainer. He didn't celebrate. He didn't need to. The message had been delivered. Arrogance could not withstand preparation and precision. Social media exploded. Clips of Jake's counters, the wrestler's stumbles, and the crowd's reaction flooded every platform. Fans commented endlessly, "Jake's discipline beats ego every time." The wrestler thought he could dominate. Look at him now. This is what happens when arrogance meets skill. The wrestler's team huddled in the corner, whispering, trying to salvage what remained of his confidence. He realized painfully that he had underestimated Jake Paul. Every boast, every laugh, every insult had led him to this precise moment, where skill and focus outclassed raw arrogance. And as the bell rang for the end of round 2, the crowd knew one thing for certain: the fight had completely changed. Jake Paul wasn't just surviving, he was in control. Round 3, Jake's trainer said quietly, finish what you started. Let him regret underestimating you. The wrestler sat on the stool, staring at Jake across the ring, his smirk gone, replaced by a hard, raw realization. He had been bested. His arrogance had been dismantled blow by a man he thought he could humiliate. The arena buzzed with anticipation. Everyone in the crowd at home or online knew the inevitable was coming. The turning point had arrived, and by round 3, it would all be over. The wrestler thought he had the fight under control, but when round 3 begins, everything changes, and the world witnesses instant regret. Round 3 began, and the atmosphere in the arena was electric. Every fan in the stadium was on their feet, chanting, screaming, and recording every second. Social media feeds exploded in real time, clips, GIFs, and memes flooding the internet. Everyone had one question on their mind. Would the wrestler recover, or was this truly the end of his arrogance? The wrestler stepped forward with forced confidence. His previous energy, the wild taunts, the smug smirk, had diminished. He knew something had changed. His punches were sharper in intent but slower in execution. He was now chasing the fight, reacting rather than controlling. Jake Paul, calm and composed, watched him. Every step, every swing, every movement had been calculated, and the moment had arrived. He didn't rush. He waited for the opening that had been forming for the past 2 rounds, the flaw in the wrestler's overconfidence, the tiny misstep that would decide it all. The wrestler lunged again, hoping to overwhelm Jake with brute force. But Jake slipped the punch with perfect timing and landed a crisp counter right to the wrestler's jaw. The stadium erupted. Gasps, screams, and applause mixed in a thunderous roar. The wrestler staggered, disbelief written all over his face. He swung wildly again, his movements frantic now. Every punch he threw was read and countered. Jake's footwork, speed, and precision had him completely outclassed. He landed a series of combinations, quick, sharp, and devastating, each one further breaking the wrestler's confidence. "Oh my God," shouted one commentator. "He's doing it! Jake Paul is dismantling him, round by round, punch by punch." Then it happened. A perfectly timed right hook, delivered with speed and precision, caught the wrestler squarely on the chin. He stumbled back, his legs buckling. Time seemed to slow as he hit the mat. Instant regret flashed across his face. His arrogance shattered in a single moment. The referee moved quickly, counting. The wrestler tried to rise, shaking his head, disbelief written in every line of his face. But the damage was done. The crowd erupted into cheers and screams. Cameras captured every reaction. Fans jumping out of their seats, phones recording, commentators barely able to speak over the noise. Jake didn't celebrate arrogantly. He raised his gloves calmly, nodded slightly to the crowd, and returned to his corner. The respect he showed his fallen opponent contrasted sharply with the wrestler's previous smugness. It was clear this wasn't about humiliation. This was about proving skill, focus, and preparation. The wrestler's team rushed to him, offering water and support. The wrestler's eyes avoided Jake, the weight of reality pressing down. He had underestimated Jake Paul. Every taunt, every laugh, every boast, meaningless against the discipline and precision of a trained fighter. Social media exploded. Clips of the knockout went viral instantly. Headlines screamed, "Jake Paul drops arrogant wrestler in round 3. YouTuber turns pro boxer, wrestler humiliated." The fighter who underestimated Jake Paul learns the hard way. Fans flooded the comment sections. What lesson did he just learn? Arrogance never wins. Jake stayed calm and disciplined. That's how champions are. Made. This is why you don't underestimate someone who's prepared. What would you say to this wrestler if you were there in the arena? Type your one-word message or your reaction in the comments. I'll be reading them all. Even the commentators couldn't stop replaying the knockout in slow motion. Every frame showed the wrestler's disbelief, Jake's calm control, and the absolute shift in power. Fans online debated endlessly, sharing memes and clips, while sports analysts dissected Jake's every move. The wrestler finally sat up fully, shaking his head. He looked at Jake, his face a mix of frustration and grudging respect. In that moment, the reality hit him hard. Preparation and skill always outweigh ego and arrogance. And Jake? He didn't need to boast. He didn't need to taunt. The victory spoke for itself. Discipline, patience, and focus had dismantled the wrestler's overconfidence, leaving one clear message for the world. Arrogance may grab attention, but skill commands respect. The arena buzzed with excitement. Fans cheered, clapped, and chanted Jake's name. Clips were instantly shared across the globe, from the US to Europe, Asia to Australia. Everyone wanted to witness the moment the arrogant wrestler learned a lesson he would never forget. By the end of round 3, it was unanimous. Jake Paul had not only survived the fight, he had dominated it, and the wrestler had received instant, undeniable proof of what happens when ego meets focus. This fight will be remembered, a commentator said, not just for the knockout, but for the lesson it taught. Respect your opponent, never underestimate the journey, and never let arrogance blind you. The bell rang, and the arena erupted. The wrestler lay on the mat, stunned, his arrogance shattered in an instant. Jake Paul stood in his corner, gloves raised, breathing steady, calm, and composed. He hadn't screamed. He hadn't taunted. He had let his skill, focus, and preparation do all the talking. Cameras flashed, broadcasting every angle. Fans jumped out of their seats, screaming, chanting, recording every second. Social media exploded. Clips of the knockout spread across platforms within minutes. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Every feed was filled with the same headline. Jake Paul drops arrogant wrestler in round 3. Discipline beats arrogance. YouTuber shocks the wrestling world. Lesson learned, don't underestimate the focused fighter. The wrestler finally got to his feet with the help of his team. His face was a mixture of disbelief, frustration, and grudging respect. No words could erase the lesson he had just learned. Ego alone could not defeat preparation, patience, and skill. In post-fight interviews, he admitted it openly. I underestimated him. I thought I could bully my way through. I was wrong. He earned my respect tonight. Jake, true to his calm and composed style, didn't gloat. He simply thanked his trainers, waved to the fans, and reminded everyone, this isn't about humiliating someone. It's about respect. In the ring, skill and discipline speak louder than arrogance. Fans around the world praised Jake. The clips went viral instantly, trending in multiple countries. Millions of people watched as the story unfolded, a clear example of humility, focus, and hard work triumphing over ego and showmanship. Comment sections overflowed with support and admiration. Jake stayed calm and dominated. What a lesson for everyone. Arrogance never wins. Respect always does. That was beautiful. Discipline and focus beat ego. Even outside the ring, the fight inspired millions. Young athletes, content creators, and fans took notice. The story became more than just a fight. It became a lesson in life. Preparation and humility always outweigh noise and arrogance. The wrestler would never forget that night. The world would never forget it. And Jake? He quietly walked away from the arena, letting the story speak for itself. No drama, no over-the-top celebrations, just a champion's quiet dignity. This fight didn't just show who could throw the hardest punch. It showed who could maintain composure, focus, and respect under pressure. It became a lesson in courage, preparation, and staying true to your craft. If you believe hard work and respect always beat arrogance, type respect in the comments below and subscribe for more real-life stories of discipline, courage, and triumph. Let the world see who really wins when ego meets skill. The viral clips, the headlines, the discussions, all served as a reminder. Confidence is powerful, but arrogance can crumble in a single moment. Discipline, preparation, and focus are unstoppable. And in this story, the world learned exactly who walked away with respect and who learned it the hard way.